Hi there, and thank you for tuning in to the Social Circus, where every week we dive into a variety of topics covering social media, mindset, and how to run your business. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode.
Good morning and hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Social Circus. My name is Sarah Thompson and I am your regular host. Today I am so excited to be joined by the fabulous Shayla Burtin, who is tuning in all the way from the USA. Welcome, Shayla. It's great to have you here.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Excellent. So those of you who haven't met Shayla before, she is a business operations strategist, which is such a big mouthful of a title, but she defines herself as a remarkable business strategist with over 20 years experience in human resources and operations. Her passion is helping busy business entrepreneurs live fulfilling lives while achieving their goals. Shayla specializes in providing customized solutions that allow business owners to step away from the constant hustle and enjoy well-deserved vacations while their businesses continue to thrive. And I have to say, the reason I've got Shayla on here is that's such a sweet spot for me is holidays or vacations. Shayla, welcome. I'm so excited to be talking to you today about that. So for our guests, I always ask the first question is, what made you get into being an entrepreneur or running your own business? How did that journey start for you?
Yeah, so my career background is in human resources. And so I was working, different jobs for over 15 years. And in 2017, I got laid off from my job. So the company was having financial difficulty and they shut down. And that was the fourth time that I had been laid off from a company. Yeah. So I was not happy. And I realized that working for different companies just wasn't very stable and that I needed to create an alternative way to make money. And so I'm like, okay, let me look into starting my own business. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did some research and read about being a virtual assistant. And I knew that I did not want to really do that long term, but that if I started that type of business, it would be a way for me to, meet other business owners and kind of like get some ideas of how I could support them. And so I did that. And like over the years, my business has transitioned. So I started off as a virtual assistant, then I did human resources consulting, and then I became a business manager or an operations manager, which I still do that work today. But as I was working with, different business owners, I noticed something that kind of shocked me, and it was that they rarely took time away from their business. It's kind of like hustling and working 24/7 is synonymous with entrepreneurship. And it's something that we accept for some reason, which, is just weird to me because, a lot of us think that when we start our business, we're going to have so much freedom and we're going to be able to take time off and spend time with our family and be on the beach. But that doesn't actually happen. And it's not because it can't happen. It's just because we don't know how to make it happen. And so we've created businesses that we need to be tied to, all day, every day in order for it to work. And that's kind of sad to me. And so my main focus is to get us to stop doing that and get us to be able to take vacation time, spend time with our families, take sick time when we need it, but still have a business to come back to.
Oh, I love that, Shayla, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And I know, particularly in the early years of my business, a lot of that resonated for me, where I felt like I was working longer than when I was in corporate. I wasn't taking holidays. When I was sick, you would still kind of push through, because if you didn't do the work, you didn't get paid. And so we do set ourselves up for these kind of poor systems and structures. And I really was determined to change some of that. And I had quite a big dream that I wanted to have all my children's school holidays off. So in Australia, our school holidays are frequent and long. So They tend to have 4 lots of school holidays in Australia, between 2 and 3 weeks each time, and the summer ones being 8 weeks. So it's a lot of holidays to accommodate your family. And I kind of had a dream that I wanted to have, at least have the flexibility not to work during that time, and even if we didn't go away. So I kind of very actively built my business towards that goal, but it was really hard. And I wish I'd had a Shayla in my life back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. And I also struggled as well. So, really, when I was working as a business manager for a couple of different companies, I had a full workload, but I was so miserable. Like, I was working 7 days a week. My clients were calling me at all day long. And I just realized that I needed to make changes within my business, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to be able to keep this up. Like, I was going to experience burnout, and then probably, give poor service to my clients. And so I ended up making the decision to end the contract for some of my clients, which was very difficult because I needed the money.
Yes.
But I knew I had to make some changes and get my business together, and change the way that I was doing business. And while I was working on my own company, I realized, like, there are other entrepreneurs in the same situation. And so I want to help before you get to that point where you've got to miss out on money, or worse, ruin your reputation.
Definitely. And I really want to talk about that today, because I know that my listeners will be resonating with a lot of this. So I guess a good place to start, because maybe taking a big vacation or a big holiday feels like it's a long way away for you and your business where you are right now. But for my listeners, we definitely need to make sure we can accommodate being sick. That's a really big thing. And I know that that's something. Even recently, I had quite a serious chest infection, and I was juggling my clients, but I still managed to make it work. And the only reason I'd made it work is because I had lots of buffer in my schedule. So if we're going to, we're not going to plan to take sick leave very often, but if we do need to if we do need to take time off sick, how do we make that work in our business? Because that can feel like, I can't do this, I'm going to lose my clients, or I'm going to let people down. And so where do we start with something like that?
Yeah. So I think it would start with the type of services you're offering. If you're offering a service, that's a really big one. So, like, if you're offering a lot of one-on-one services, it makes it kind of hard to take time away. But it also can depend on how you manage your calendar as well. So, like, are you filling your calendar up with meetings every single day? Are you doing client work every single day? So making your calendar work for you is how you can help to have that buffer and be able to take sick time. But then also, how you are communicating with your clients. So do they expect you to be available all day, every day? And so I think you need to work on setting expectations with your clients in the beginning. And so for me, when I first started my business, I was responding to client like emails or calls immediately. But now I don't do that anymore, even though if I am available, sometimes I still try to space out a little time, because I don't want them to get used to me always being there. And then when I can't be there, now it's an issue.
Definitely. And those boundaries are something I think we're often very scared of, because we want to service our clients and take care of them, but we're scared that if we don't, they're going to be unhappy. But like you say, if we set the boundaries and expectations from the get-go, that really sets us up for that success. And I know that I often like to catch up on things. If I've had a really busy day, I'll sit down and maybe spend an hour catching up on emails, but I schedule them, I don't send them. So I'm not sending emails at 6 o'clock at night. So people don't reply, because what will happen is people reply back, and then you end up in this loop and you're like, I just wanted to send a quick email and I don't want to reply now. So definitely using scheduling tools in your email system is great. And you mentioned about having your diary so that you're not bursting. And that's something that I've definitely worked hard on over the last couple of years. But it's something that feels really scary, doesn't it? And it can feel like, but if I'm not available, but, you know, we need to kind of work on these boundaries. So how do we start that with our clients? Like, how do we set ourselves up for that? Having space, having boundaries.
Yeah, so you start with your first conversation. So when you have your first meeting with your client, that can be part of the conversation. A lot of people will create like a work with me booklet that has your hours of availability, your response times, all of that information. And so I would recommend creating something like that and then going over that with your client right in the beginning so that you are setting both of you up for success. But then also what you'll need to make sure is that you are respecting your boundaries as well, because sometimes you may tell your client, I don't work or I only work during this time frame, but then you'll find yourself working out of the time frame. And so that's confusing to your client. So whatever boundaries you're setting up and that you're communicating to them, make sure that you are sticking to them as well.
Oh, I like that. That's a really good point, because we often are our own worst enemies in that respect, aren't we? We often put ourselves under a lot of pressure, and our clients are much more reasonable than what we might be. So that's a great place for us to start with, kind of allowing ourselves to have some freedom in our diary. So if we are sick, how do we manage that? And I guess the next thing is when we do get sick, because we all get sick and that happens, it's what are some good strategies that we can use to help us manage that and to try and let ourselves rest and things like that? So what would you recommend we do when that happens?
Yes. So when you know that you need to take some time off, you want to communicate that to your clients or your customers as soon as possible. Let them know, when you're going to be out, when you'll be back available. If there are any emergencies, if you have like a person that can respond or be your backup, letting them know that as well. And, making sure you have that backup available. Now, if you're solopreneur, it's a little more difficult, but even if you are solo, I think that you need to have somebody who can at least notify your clients. So right now we're talking about like if you're sick, but what if you have a medical emergency where you can't notify or contact your clients?
Yeah.
Who do you have that can have access to let your clients know so that they aren't just wondering what's going on and thinking that you have just took their money and disappeared? So that could be like a spouse or a best friend, or maybe if you have like a business bestie that can reach out to your clients for you.
That's such a good idea. I've never thought about that. And it's really true, because when we are on our own, if we do have that emergency come up and we can't contact our clients, have we got someone in mind? And that's something we definitely should be thinking about. I've never really thought about that myself. So I love that idea, Shayla. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the juicy holiday stuff. So how do we start to try and take regular holidays and vacations, I guess, is the thing, because I know in America you only get 3 weeks annual leave as an employee, don't you? Is that still the case?
A lot of companies, it's only 2. It's really bad here.
So in Australia, by law, it's a minimum of 4 weeks annual leave. And we also get long service leave, which is 3 months after 10 years.
Wow.
I know. So we have very nice, strong unions here that take care of our conditions here. So a lot of us have come out of that workplace where we might have had like extended paid maternity leave, long service leave, and annual leave that we're always encouraged to take. So that's one of the, I have to say, one of the things I do miss the most about being in paid employment is that regular annual leave and that long service leave. So if we're getting that, there's a reason we have annual leave, isn't there? It's because it's important for us to rest and rejuvenate. So how do we even start that process? Because I'm so guilty of this. For years, I didn't take very good holidays in my business. So
Yes, yes. Well, you start by planning for it. So, number one, since we don't have vacation time, we have to set aside money in our savings account to cover us when, we need to take time off. So, you want to do that. But then to actually take the time off, I tell people, and this is going to sound so silly, but to be able to take the time off, all you do is open up your calendar and block off the days that you want to take off. Um, a, a lot of us make it so difficult because we think, oh, we have so much work on our plate. Like, how can we possibly take time off? Or we think um, we'll schedule that vacation when we have more free time. But the problem is we're never going to have free time. And so we just have to go ahead and schedule it and then work backwards to figure out like what is priority, what needs to be done so that we can take that time off. And you'll find if you look at your workload, your to-do list, there are tons of things on your list that you don't really need to do. That's just a waste of time, or that's just not important. And so if you schedule that time off and then make a list of like what really needs to get done and just focus on those things, then you can take the time. And also, what I have like my clients do once we schedule their vacation is, or their holiday, we pretty much create an itinerary for what they're going to do during their time off. Brilliant. Which always at first is kind of silly to them, like why do we need to do this? But I find that it's super important because then it makes your vacation real. Like if you plan a trip, well, now you got to buy tickets, so you have to go because you spent money on it. Or if you're not going on a trip and you're having a staycation, well, are you going to have a date night with your spouse? Are you going to take your kids to the park? We need to create a plan for that as well. So then that you have to do it, because if you tell your kids, I'm taking you to the zoo or whatever, they're going to remember, and you don't want to disappoint your children. So you have to do it. So that's why we create an itinerary. And of course, you don't have to follow the itinerary. You can make changes to it, but I just want people to know that this is important. Like, plan your vacation just like you are, scheduling a doctor's appointment. If you need to see the doctor, you put it on your calendar and you go. And so you should do the same for your time off, because it's important.
Oh, I love that. And it's really true. What you were just saying is put it in your diary, because it makes it happen. And one of the things that I do, and I actually was speaking to my assistant yesterday, and we put in, so it's only mid-2023 now, and we put in for next year, my 2024, my son's school term dates and their holiday dates, because if once they're in the diary, they're there and you can see them. Whether or not I take them off isn't the issue. It's that I can see that they're there and I can choose to be more flexible around them. And that's been a big game changer for me. And really making conscious decisions about how much I'm going to work during those school holidays has been huge, but it's taken me a long time. And your comment, it landed so much for me, Shayla, when you said just put it in your diary. It's like, you do just put it in your diary, because that starts the process and starts the ball rolling and starts all that momentum, which is really important. So I absolutely love that. So as we kind of wrap up, and I know that a lot of my audience will be like, is this a thing that someone can help you with this? And so I guess from my audience's perspective, if they would like to work with someone like yourself, what does that look like in terms of how do we work with you?
Yeah. So for me, I have a whole method, which I call my Freedom First method. And that is where we focused on getting you that freedom that you want, that you desire. And so I typically work with my clients over a 90-day period. Some of them want me to come into their business and stay and do a bunch of other things as well. But for the clients that I work with on a project base, it's 90 days. And we start by figuring out what your vision is for your life. Like what's your dream life look like? What type of freedom do you want? And then once we have that narrowed down, we look at your business and see how your business can support you. So what changes, what improvements do we need to make in your business so you can have that freedom that you're looking for? And so I do a lot of strategic planning, setting up systems and processes, building your team, helping you identify who you need on your team, so that you can have a business that revolves around your life and not your life revolving around your business.
Oh, I love that. So those are amazing ways in which we can work with you, Shayla. And for all of the listeners, please check out my show notes, because we'll have all the links on how you can check out Shayla, inquire about working with her, because that all sounds amazing. I think we all need you in our life. So Shayla, thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. It's been delightful chatting with you, and I'm sure that my listeners got lots of value and are really probably excited about thinking about the things that they can create around their business, which we often, like you say, we start out with that intention and it somehow slips away. So thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Excellent. My pleasure. Thank you, Shayla. And thank you to all my listeners for tuning into the Social Circus. I will catch you the same time next week.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Social Circus. As your host, Sarah Thompson, I am thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time hanging out with me. I would be so grateful if you could spare an extra moment to go and leave me a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you even felt more excited, you could share my podcast with your friends who you think would get great value from it. Thanks so much again for tuning in.